Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Teboho Angela Magetse from Botswana Open University. I work there as a lecturer in the Department of Educational Management and Leadership. And for the past 3 years, I've been the research coordinator in that department. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gracious Barry. I'm from Botswana Open University. I work there as a lecturer in the School of Business and Management Studies.
Good afternoon. My name is Jan Sianero. I'm at Buan, Botswana University for Agriculture and Natural Resources as Director of Library Services. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alfred Maisiri. I'm Director of Library Services at University of Botswana. Just like all of you, I couldn't escape the open access movement. So let's see how things unfold. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Karu Mulevatsi, and I work for University of Botswana Library as a systems manager.
Thanks.
Dumela Mbetsu, good afternoon. My name is Jacob Sekhoni. I work at the Ministry of Youth, Gender, Sport and Culture as Director, Department of National Library Services. And one of the assignments that I've been given is basically to establish what we call a digital library. And this is in alignment to His Excellency the President's reset agenda priority number 3. And I think it's very critical for me to attend this meeting so that I get to appreciate all that which is involved and learn from those that have successfully implemented it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dumela Mbetsu. My name is Lesego Tamai from the Department of Research, Science and Technology in the Ministry of Communications, Knowledge and Technology. My department's interest or major mandate is to coordinate research nationally. And currently we are reviewing the National Policy for Research, Science, Technology and Innovation. Issues of open science, open data are coming out quite strongly in the review. And this review is very much likely to lead to revision of components of the policy. And also we are setting up, we are advanced at setting up the research information management system for nationally, where we will have research permits applied for online. So this will help, especially in open science, open data as well. The repository component needs to be threshed out properly, but there are access roads to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jumela. My name is Tuelon Totang. I am the subject librarian at Botswana International University of Science and Technology, responsible for coordination of institutional repository. I also work with Botswana Library Consortium. I'm the board member. I also work with Botswana Open Science, Open Data, ODOS, and also I am working with International Federation of Association of International Federation of Library Association, IFLA, a standing committee of academic and research libraries, and also I'm working with an international organization that specializes on library carpentry, equipping librarians with basic coding, because as you agree with me, we are living in a changing society, and also as Botswana, we want to be a knowledge-based economy. We are just basically equipping librarians with computational skills. Thank you.
I know who's going to be taking the notes now and is going to be carrying some of the actions forward. So start on this right away. Actions.
Dumela Mbetsu ke Julius Atlopeng Like Dr. Odrima Sizana has indicated, we've been working on the open data, open science orders, on the policy strategy issues for the country. So we are really excited that finally things will come to fruition. But in my current life, after 30 years at UB, I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Research and Development Institute in Agriculture, NADI. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, by the way, on the recent appointment.
Okay, afternoon everybody. My name is Annalyn Morgan. I'm from the Static Secretariat. So within the Static Secretariat in Gaborone, Botswana, I'm responsible for the Science, Technology and Innovation portfolio. We are happy to be here and very excited. I think thank you again for the presentation this morning, for the keynote. But we work very closely with my colleague here, Professor Marshall from UNESCO, as he's coming from the UNESCO office in Harare. But also to say briefly that we are also, I think it's a milestone that we're having this workshop here in Botswana, PS. When Botswana was the chair of SADC in 2016, the ministers convened in Pakalani, at the Pakalani Golf Estate for the SADC Ministers Meeting for Science, Technology and Education. And during that meeting in Pakalani in 2016, under the chairmanship of Botswana, SADC approved the SADC Cyber Infrastructure Strategy. So I think it's a great milestone for Botswana because part of the SADC Cyber Infrastructure Strategy, we include infrastructures around NRENs and high performance computing. We are meeting next week in Pretoria for our annual SADC Cyber Infrastructure Experts meeting, but also annual high performance computing conference at the CSR Convention Center. As we know, we are supporting a number of the SADC member states rolling out HPC infrastructures, but we're also supporting them with NRENs, how to strengthen the national NRENs, but where countries don't have NRENs, how do we help them to set up those NRENs? So I'm very happy to hear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anneli. So we know now who is in the room, right? We have colleagues from SADC. We have a good representation from our research, academic institutions. We have civil society. We have someone from the private sector. We have international organizations. And we also have done some work here in Botswana on the open data and open science, from what I just heard. So I think it would be great to find out where we are. For example, when is that report coming out from your ministry, PS? So can you tell us about the report that is coming out? When is the deadline? Can we have it now?
Well, there is a draft, but in the next 2 weeks we should be having the final draft that we will process for cabinet.
Okay, so there is something that we'll process for cabinet. This is a good thing. So, Julius, were you aware of that? You've been working on this?
Yes, working with them.
Okay. Great. So in that, something that is coming to cabinet, it talks about what? Open data?
Yeah, it has open data and open science.
Okay. So it has open data and has open science. Talk a little bit about it. Let's find out what is there. How can this group contribute into drafting this this policy that will come to cabinet?
I think she's talking about research, science, technology and innovation policy. And I think the PS will talk a little bit more on that one later on. So the PS will talk a bit more about that one. Yeah. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and create this alignment, because I sit at the CBC committee and I haven't seen anything on open data, just so we know that. So let's see what the PS will tell us about this. What is the alignment?
No, I was just saying that I think Liseho is talking about something else. I get.
It's not open data policy.
Yeah.
Do we specifically talk about open data?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we need to do here is we need to create our roadmap, because what I will do is I will take things further with all of our ministries involved. I hear the youth is involved, Ministry of Youth. I hear that the Ministry of Knowledge, Technology, Knowledge and Communication, Knowledge and Technology is involved. Also the Ministry of Education is involved in all of this, and there needs to be one coherent approach. Who is driving open data? This is what I would like to know. Who is driving open data within our ministries? Should be Ministry of Knowledge.
Yeah. One of the, I think it's a long-standing recommendation, even when we had the conference, was that a conference? Yes. That we would be driving as the ministry responsible for research and innovation. However, we have not started on drafting any instrument towards that. What we are doing right now is to review a policy for research, science, technology, and innovation that was approved by Parliament in 2012. Some of the recommendations include focusing on open science, open data, open science. So those recommendations are the ones that I meant that we will take them to inform Cabinet of what has come out. And if it means a strategy, if it means a policy, that will come out as such, as a recommendation.
Yeah. Okay, great. Now I understand. So what we need to do is we can start with an open data policy, okay, that will feed into your strategy. We need to move forward. If we've been waiting since 2012 to get something passed, this is 2022. We cannot wait any more generations. So an open data policy. I have a question. From this group at UNESCO, for example, do we have an open data framework that is recommended, that we can take and work with? Omo.
Well, two things I wanted to say. So I wanted to first clarify what's happening there. You help me clarify that later. But yes, we do have a national open science policy, a template that was developed by an international community, well, within LIBSENSE. It's been used in Latin America. It's being used in Latin America now within the process. What it does, it just creates the areas, which you would need to sort of consider, and some language that you can adjust. But I was wondering, if that policy that has been reviewed is a national policy for STI, do you really need another policy? Why can't you just introduce the elements you want into that policy, since it's already been reviewed, and then pass that?
Right. Assuming that we have open data and open science within, but it's a policy. In order for it, even if Cabinet approves it, we still need to look at legislation. We still need to see what is already in place. I know we have a GDPR policy on data protection that is it has been reviewed a couple or 3 times, but we need to be able to create a proper framework for all research-related data, okay, or plain data that possibly Statistics Botswana or any other organization can put out. We have, number one, here we do not have an area that has a repository of data. There is no space like this. And then we need to look, what does this mean from a legislative perspective? Does that make sense to anyone? I mean, Or is it, Julius?
I think those frameworks that exist in terms of starting a policy or even a strategy are very, very crucial to align, obviously. But as a country, we're struggling quite a lot in the issue of data. We don't have data in any area that is really coordinated or formulated appropriately. So data in a knowledge-based economy is absolutely critical. It's the new resource, therefore, we are essentially saying enabling the country to really function within the space of that knowledge-based economy. The means of sharing the data, the FAIR principles and so forth, we need to also be able to enable those and build capacity for all of those. Because when you look, for instance, with the SDGs, we have a roadmap. And that roadmap, we're talking ownership, so forth and so forth. But it's also pointing to data, it's also pointing to research. So really, we need to be prioritizing data. Even if it exists in the RSTI policy, we need to really make it a priority. Just like the IP policy, really have it stand out. And the revolution with open science, leaving no one behind with your SDGs, and really making sure that inclusion, fostering it and living it out, they are really implemented at all levels. Those are key. We need to have those. Thank you.
So, okay, we just at least established that we do not have a place where data exists. So you cannot really talk about a proper SDI in a knowledge-based economy without data, because the whole economy is driven by data. So let's assume that we need this. Where do we start? Without strategies and policies, let's talk directly about open data. Things can always come. Costa, where would you start? No, I mean, list them out. Several places.
So, okay, I would start obviously from the policy, because that's a start, I mean, to decide what you are doing at national level. But then the policy needs to talk about capacity, and maybe some of this exists, I don't know very well the situation. It needs to talk about skills. It's a whole new skill set that even in, that is not, you cannot easily find. It needs to talk about legislation. And maybe some of this exists, I don't know, but we need to find out. And legislation is very wide-ranging. Legislation goes from open public data to research data to copyright to what data private companies can export from the country, for example, or can collect and then export, what data private companies have to share with the public sector in case of emergencies. So there are many aspects to the policy. I don't say you need to be exhaustive, cover them all, but you need to decide what is it that you are covering. Then skills, very important. And finally, federation. How you federate data across the different sectors and internationally, because what very often happens and what you have today is that you have pockets of data here and there that are not combinable and not easy to federate and in bigger data sets. And this needs to be thought up front. So these 5 or 6 areas need to be thought at the same time. One starts from the policy, but then all these aspects need to be covered.
So we're starting from the policy. So I think that let's do that, okay? I think also, sorry.
I'm just wondering, should we not define or identify where the data is and what the nature of the data is before we think about the policy? Because I mean, if this policy, what would it cover? Wouldn't we want to know what data we have?
So what we have now, we have created a sort of a primitive, but is there, classification of data, which is key. So what is sensitive, what is not sensitive, at least from government, because if you look at sources, we generate a lot of data, naturally. But what is lacking, and I would add this to the sixth one, is standards. So we need to be able to build certain standards within that to be able to access the data, first of all. So we need to have, so let's talk about an open data policy. I think this is what I'm hearing so far. Do we agree on that? An open data, yes. Omo?
So, is there any reason why you cannot make it an open science policy? And then, like Costas was mentioning, publications, data, have sections within that policy.
So open science, I know it's cool for LIBSENSE, but the thing is that if you don't have an open data policy, I cannot get SMEs. For example, I get data from sensors right now, okay? And the sensors do not have any kind of value add only for science, but it has for triggering SMEs to spin out and mix data for different applications that are useful for tourists or for healthcare or for crowdsourcing on traffic or whatever. If I don't have an open data policy, I cannot really stimulate a lot of parts of the economy, including science.
Okay, so what are you?
Sorry?
Yeah. Open data is also, if you like, a component of open science. So I feel that instead of going through it by starting with the open data, why can't we think open science and then look at the ecosystem of open science? And open data is one of those.
I think you're both right, yes. So you have data that can be used for other purposes, not research, and you have data that's predominantly for research. So, but one should not be competing. I mean, you can have an open data policy and an open science policy, and the two to be synergetic and closely related. So is the discussion is one or the other, or is it could we have both? It's both. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But open data is a lot more than science. And so open data is about transparency in systems. Okay, that help governance. Okay, that help a number of other elements within our societal challenges, including science. So we need to have an open science component and an open data. Mama Pakwani.
You're confusing me.
Mama Pakwani. I see that head shaking and I'm wondering, why is it shaking?
I think here in Botswana, because we have had some bit of debate along the same lines, we started to form open data, open science, linking them up. But the different components or emphasis with regards to data and with regards to science, they can go into this policy so that the synergies are also enhanced. So it's up to us really, but we shouldn't undermine the value of data in this, and also the inclusiveness, fostering it through open science, open resources, open access, and so forth. Thank you.
But we have also someone from the private sector here that can also, and also civil society, David. He left. And what does the private sector think about this? Did you become the private sector now? I know government here is sort of the private sector, but let's hear from the private sector and we'll come back. I mean, we need to see what they think. Open data. What if you have a data pool of information from sensors, climate, movement of animals, movement of people?
Okay, I want to understand the question.
Oh, you don't understand my question?
No, I want to understand the question.
So you're building applications, right?
Okay.
I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm building applications.
So you're building applications, and your applications, are they in a certain domain?
Mm-hmm.
What domain are you in? What's your vertical?
Farming.
Farming.
Yes, sir.
So, if I could, so he's working in farming, building applications. Can everybody hear me? So, and if you had a place where you could actually look at the movement of clouds, you could get the moisture of the clouds that they may bring you rain, pula. You may be able to also see if your animals are, let's say that you have small stock, you could see their vital signs, and you could detect that they are threatened. Okay? Could you develop different types of applications for this?
Yes, I can. Like with the horticulture one, we'll be using the sensors like and microcontrollers. Sensors like sound, ultrasound sensors that will detect movement when you are home. So you'll be able to communicate with your farm or to collect information and to farm. Even the moisture, like the humidity sensor.
So you're all for open data, right?
Yes, sir.
If you can get that information, you would use it to grow your business.
Yes, sir.
So that's all I
You'll be able to know even.
Because we have a limited space and time and many people, and we just need to sort of focus the discussion on the policy level. So, yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Right, I'm not refuting that data is very, very important, especially for decision making. But open science seems to be a broader, it gives us a broader picture where open data feeds into, open research feeds into. So I would like to believe that if we start with that broader picture and come up with that open science policy, later on we can then segment it and come down to open data and the like. But I'm not refuting the importance that is attached to data. Thank you.
Thank you. So the idea here is you have us here to be able to take something to government and pass it into policy. Very soon. Very soon. Do you want to take advantage of this or not? Is the question. You do. Guide me. That's all. Guide me. Because I hear a lot of stuff. I hear debates between open science and open data mixed together. Open science and open data, yes, they work very closely. But data is big. Our whole society is driven by data. Economies are driven by data. It's not only about science. And of course, this is our domain, and we cannot only look from that lens, because we're coming into national policy decisions here. Okay, so we need to be a little bit broader. I'm really sorry that I just went to the private sector a minute ago, but please.
No, it's okay. It's a discussion. I think I'm not so learned on the open science, open data, but just from my colleague what he said, that, well, I Googled a bit, and it shows that open science is actually broader. And we do not want to come up with a policy that is very restricted from the word go. If we come up with a policy that allows for extension, if I can put it that way, where then open data becomes part of it, and the policy will say the priority right now is open data, and we are going that way. But it shows that there is open methodology, open source, open review, open everything that goes along with that. So please, when you go to represent us, say open science.
Well, I represent not this group, I represent Botswana, okay, and this group. So, but, you know, as if His Excellency asks me, you know, I will talk about, in a knowledge-based society, you need to be driven by data. Okay? And of course, science is the one that gives us the competitive advantage to develop and create new markets. Because it's not science for the sake of science. It's science for our development, for creating that competitive link. And when we're talking about publications and people living out of our universities and increased from 10,000 or 11,000 students to 17,000 students at UB, I love it. But I want to know how many of these students have a job right now. So we need to start thinking about our societal challenges as Botswana that are being addressed by everything that we do within our academic institutions. You know, are we focusing to the right things? You know, so building data, having an open data policy, of course, is going to assist all of you because it goes in and plugs in to our open science policy that you're working on right now. So on open data, what would you like me to do? I'll just give this to you, and the PS is here, and he will drive it, you know. I'll do my lobbying, but we also have another PS that I'm sure will drive it as well, which is from education. Most of the people represented here. And also I have MySec here as well, from youth. And of course, the results of our work makes his life easier. He also runs libraries and youth centers and everything else from that end. So what is that one thing that we can do on open data? So have we drafted, I mean, Julius, you know that. Have we drafted legislation on that makes us align to standards and the other things that to fair type of data somehow align with our GDPR legislation that is very similar to the one that is in Europe and so on? What do we have at hand?
In Botswana, the value of data obviously has been taken quite strongly. And as the Botswana Open Data, Open Science, we did benchmark and pulled together the key components of a policy. We have that, and when that didn't quite work in terms of ownership, we tried a strategy. So that is what we kind of worked on. And what spurred us on, what encouraged us. We had a national data forum as Botswana. It wasn't widely publicized, but at that we had around over 200 people just at the first go. So the need for data there was very well demonstrated. Still,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, that's why I said the ownership wasn't really there. No, so yeah, we had put together something. Yeah.
Where is
that? We have it.
Where is that?
We have it.
See that? Where is it? You were missing in action, and we had some questions for you, but it's okay. So where is that policy? You have drafted something. Where is that thing?
We shared it with the former ministry before
Okay.
Yeah, they wanted
Can
to take it out because we were looking for a ministry to own it.
So we have a working group now. This is the working group. And this is the lady that is going to assist us on all the pushing things around because she belongs in 1,000 organizations and she cannot value to all of this. Are you willing to do that, Ma? Era, okay. So when can I have that policy? That's what I want to know. When can I have that policy? Why do you keep looking at each other? Tell me. So let's start with a few things. I mean, we have already done classification. An open data policy should be able to set out the standards that we need. And you have all of this. Now, from that point on, we're going to go and mandate at Statistics Botswana, this is the data you need to put there. And this is how you need to put it. Okay? But we need to give them something. It's not about looking for the data and then asking them. They need to give us at a certain format. Well, we know Statistics Botswana knows what data is available. We have geological service. All we need to do is write to all PSs to provide us with the data that they have, right? But let's ask them what format that we want them. You're going to take us back to open science, right? Okay, good.
Just a question. Since this is this policy and legislation that you want, isn't the format a matter of operations rather than policy?
The format.
Yes, because you're asking about what format, where the data is. Isn't the governing principles that we should be dealing with, in the sense that we want data to be open, usable, and shareable, and in some cases, like Costas mentioned, mandated, and that's what the policy should deal with. Because if we descend now to the operational issues, that data management plans, you can require a data management plan that might discuss these other lower level issues.
Okay, so this is good. I mean, the thing is that it's all within that domain. A data policy should have all of these, okay, including, yes. But let's get to, and I will give you the telephone right there, whatever, in a minute. But when are we getting the policy? So we know what we have, and then we'll create a group, and I'm sure that Dr. Konstantinos Glinos is going to volunteer to help us, and you will.
I wanted to offer something, which is that not all data is digital. Like I've been looking at places people keeping tally sheets, right? So that's nobody knows it exists. It's not digital. So how are you going to deal with that stuff? You audit and knows that exists. So we're really down to the granular level.
Yeah.
Look at what is invisible. Like something that's not up anywhere. It's no department.
Digitalization and digitalization.
Exactly. So we have this issue, but let's start with a level now, and then we can mandate something like this, because this is part of the work that actually PS's ministry is doing. They're part of digitization and digitalization of the whole process, including a document management system everywhere. So we will have a lot of these, but please, Baisaho would like to speak.
No, I wanted to ask the question. We seem to be restricted by structure here. Why can't we move out of structures and have a purposely designed organization structure which cannot speak to a particular ministry, but will probably address anything that has to do with data, so that anybody, whether ministry, to be able to use that.
Yeah. See, the issue has been, I mean, it's fine. Somebody will own this, and more likely his ministry will own it, okay? But for 12 years, we've been discussing the same things, okay? Somewhere, we need to move. Yes or no? So, how do we move? Let's start somewhere. And the first thing I hear is an open data policy with different instructions. In parallel, you could be working with an open science policy so we can satisfy LIBSENSE. So, I know I'm kidding, okay? Sometimes I have a sense of humor to myself. So, but this is what we need to do, and there is no open data policy right now. Yes, please.
I think we have different opinions on what we really want to call this policy. I for one, think the policy shouldn't be coined into data only, because we are not only wanting to share data or to open data, we also want to open research knowledge. We want to share information openly. So if we talk about open data, we are excluding other components that are critical, that are coined under open science. We are not satisfied, LIBSENSE, but we are doing what needs to be done. We don't want to create a policy that puts us in a corner, and then in a year's time we want to review it and say, let's call it open science because we have left other very important issues. I, for one, as a librarian, have been advocating for open access. And open access is a component of open science. And when we were talking with Julius developing that strategy, we knew that open science covers open access. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, yeah, thank you.
So I think everybody agrees, okay, that an open science policy is needed and that open science data is part of that policy. Then second,
so can we have your attention, please?
When we say open data, we can be a bit more specific. So depending on the provenance of the data, who generates the data and where these data are used. Generally speaking, the simplest is to say that data generated by the public sector, by government, right? By the private sector, by business, and by science, by research or so on. For each of these three owners of data, the framework is a bit different. For example, for the private sector, you can do little things. You have to do a few things, but you cannot do too many because it's their money, they gather the data, you cannot. Yeah, you can do a few things, or you should do a few things, like in the cases of pandemics, for instance, that they have some obligations. But you cannot regulate exactly how you use the data. For government, you can do a lot, right? You can be very specific, right? You can be very specific. And this is part of research policy, but it is part of research policy, but it is also part of open data policy more generally, for government, for the public sector more generally, and if you don't have this in Botswana, it's extremely important to put it together. And I have some good examples to give you of the huge difference it can make in government policy. For science data, since science is funded 90% by this type of science we're talking about here, by public funds, you can also regulate. You can also regulate. Are overlapping. So these data are overlapping. For example, meteorological data gathered by Botswana satellite, for the sake of argument, but it's used also very much for research purposes. But it's used also very much for research purposes. Not all the same data. Not all of them are like this. Not all of them are like this. For example, the GPS coordinates of a postal code. So how does somebody know where is the limit of a GPS limit of a postal code? If the government opens this data, I don't know in Botswana if it's open now or closed, it opens the area for private companies to come in and become delivery companies. This is how DHL now functions. This is how they didn't exist before because it was government monopolies. They didn't open this data. They are not research data. There are many data of this kind, a lot of data of this kind. So what I think should be done is distinguish by data provenance, data, government data. For public data, government data, you need a policy, which is to some extent the same, because still also needs to be fair, also needs to be deposited, maintained. You also need data management. You need a policy. For science, you need a policy. Overlapping, as I said, with the previous one. This is overlapping, as I said, with the previous one. And this is part of the broader open science policy. And then you have also some little activity. And then you have also some little activity for the private. For the private data. So this is how I would see it. Unfortunately, we don't have a. I could draw, you know, make it very clear. To make it very clear. But some of these are interacting things. Some of these need to be faced independently. The ministries that will look at it. Maybe the lead ministry is different in each case. I'm not sure about what each ministry covers. But you need all these components. You definitely need an open data policy for government, and you definitely need an open data policy for research. And these are, but not the same thing. Cross-cutting but not the same thing. It looked as competitive. We do one or the other. It looked as competitive. We do one or the other. I mean, of course, this audience is more from science. Here, this audience is more from science. Therefore, it's not probably the right audience to discuss in open data. Policy for government. Some of the majority come from digital libraries, but the majority come from digital libraries, consortia, and so on. So it would not be exactly the right problem.
They're a key stakeholder. But they're a key stakeholder here, and the ministries are here. So we need for all of this. So we need to look at that. Now on the So now we decided on the open data. So we decided on the open data. When you will bring the recommendation. The recommendation.
I think we will share what they have drafted before or what they have submitted to the MOTE before. I think we will take it from there. So I think we will take it from there. So I have to liaise with the secretary that was working with the committee to draft that policy. So I believe maybe next week I think I should share the draft. Maybe next week I think I should share the draft. I'm told, because I'm told next week Friday.
Exchange the information, so we have that. We have this information now. So we have that. Next we have this policy. We have the draft. Next week Friday we have the draft. Now what I would like to do what we have is have. Now what I would like to do is have with a lot of international standards as well. With a lot of the international standards as well. So we're going to take 1 week. Dr. Glinos, would you be willing to assist us on this? Would you be willing to assist us on this? And we have some other people also that that can get involved. And the rest of it, UNESCO and the rest of it that can assist us on this as well. So that can assist us on this as well. So let's create a group. I will also bring in OECD. They've developed a very nice open data policy that is so it's scrutinized. That is from around. So it's scrutinized. The week after. And we will have this done the week after you're done. 1 week after you're done. Okay. So let's build the roadmap properly, and then we go properly, and then we will try to assist PS. We will try to assist him to build a CAB memo, so we can pass it at cabinet. That will go, so we can pass it at cabinet. Is that fair enough? Is that fair enough? Can I hear some? Yes. Can I hear some? You don't agree? Yes. You don't agree? But I didn't hear the yes. But I didn't hear the yes. I want to hear the yes. I saw that. I saw that. I saw that. Now, let's take a few minutes and talk about open science. Let's take a few minutes and talk about open science. Okay. That includes everything else. On open science. Okay. So on open science, have we developed any kind of policy documents? This group, internally. This group, internally. Yeah, it's very important what I'm doing it also. Yeah, it's very important what I'm doing it also for other. I'm doing it for the country. I hear you. Absolutely. Now, in open science, do we have anything? Now, in open science, do we have anything? Go any policy papers going once? Go any policy papers going once? Then we probably if we don't know in this group, then we probably don't have anything. We're even running away. We're even running away. That means no. Right. Right. Do you need any assistance from government though? Do you need any assistance from government to implement it? To implement it. Yeah.
So two things. So we want to identify institutions that already have open science policies, open access or open science policies. We would at least open access, if not open science. You have institutional repositories. Do you have institutional repositories? Do you have open access policies? Something ratified by the institution that says how you interact with this repository, perhaps how you publish in it, or how you deposit in it, and any
BGI, we have a research
For
policy,
BGI,
which
we
is also
have
the
a research
IP1,
policy,
but
which is
it
also the
doesn't
IP1,
really call it
but
opened
it
or part of
doesn't
the
really
content
call it
within the
opened
clauses.
or
It talks
part of
about
the
open
content
data,
within the
in
clauses.
making
It
sure
talks
that
about the
research,
open
we
data,
drive it,
in
and
making
we
sure that
also
research,
build
we
that
drive it,
issue
and
of
we
knowledge
also
economy.
build
So
that
that one
issue
is
of knowledge
targeting also
economy.
to make sure
So
that
that
we
one
develop
is
an area
targeting
where
also
there is
to make sure that we develop an
ownership
area
and
where there is
IP
patent
in terms of
ownership
protecting
and
the data.
IP
So the
in
issue
terms
of
of
making it
protecting the data.
open also
So the
puts
issue of making it
legislation
open
aspect
also
in-
puts
inside the policy
legislation
to make
aspect
sure that
inside
it
the
also
policy
protects
to
in
make
terms
sure
of
that
how
it
the
also
data is being
protects in terms
disseminated.
of how the
Yeah, we
data
have
is
that
being
one.
disseminated. Yeah, we have that one.
So thank you, Vasilis. What I was going to suggest.
So thank you,
Vasilis. What I was
our
going to
experience
suggest
is
is
that,
that when
our
there's
experience
a national
is that
open access,
when there's
policy,
a national
open
open
access,
access
in this
policy,
case open science
open
policy,
access, in this
it
case
guides
open
the
science policy,
institution,
it guides the
actually
institution,
formulating
you know,
their own
in
policies.
actually
So like in
formulating
most of
their
the
own policies.
universities, for instance,
So
there
like
are
in most of the
institutional
universities,
repositories,
for instance,
and
there are
then Costas
institutional
was talking about
repositories,
publishing,
and then
and then
Costas
this
was talking
publishing,
about publishing,
is called
and then this
Diamond-
publishing
Diamond,
is called
Access
Diamond
or Library
Access
Publishing.
or
It also has to be
library
guided
publishing.
by
It also
frameworks.
has to be
So if we
guided
have
by frameworks.
a national open
So if we
science
have
policy that
a
is,
national
uh,
open
that
science
describes
policy that
a
is
framework,
that describes
then these
a
institutions
framework,
have a
then these
point of
institutions
reference and guidance.
have a point
You
of
can-
reference
then-
and guidance.
It is-
And you
it
can-
is
then-
Botswana, so
no,
we all
it
do
is it is Botswana. So we all do.
Oh, no, you don't have one now.
Yes.
That's-
Oh no, you
that's
don't have
pretty
one
much
now.
what-
Yes.
that
That's
word,
pretty much
is
what
trying to stimulate.
that word
So
is trying to
LIBSENSE,
stimulate.
the whole
You know.
point of LIBSENSE
So
is to
LIBSENSE, the whole point of
stimulate
LIBSENSE
evolution
is to
of
actually
these policies.
stimulate
So we
evolution
need to get
of
past
these
policies
policies
quickly and
so we
reach
need to
a-
get
reach
past
a
policies
conclusion because we
quickly
need to talk
and
about
reach a
infrastructure
conclusion
and
because we need to talk
capacity
about
building,
infrastructure
you know, and
capacity
because all of this is
building,
going to
you
go
know, and
into,
because all of this is going to
this
go
effort
into
to move this agenda forward.
This effort to
So,
move this
since,
agenda
since
forward.
you are here, hold
Great.
on, Costa. So, since you are here, hold on, Costa.
do you have a
Since you are here,
policy
do you have a
that we
LIBSENSE
can
policy
actually have a look
that
here
we
in
can
Botswana?
actually have a look here in Botswana? When can we
I
have it?
mentioned that earlier. We do have
When
it.
can
It's
we have
online.
it?
It's online.
Which one
It's
is
online.
the team that is going to review it? Which one is the team that is going to review it here?
So one of the ways we're approaching other countries is that you form a work group, right? You know, a group that takes this forward. We can establish high-level marching orders for this group here. But like you said, take what this group has to go away. Take what's there, the templates, the policies that are available, the templates are online, and have a more robust discussion around these high-level marching orders, and come up with something that we review and
So,
we ratify.
which one is
Okay.
that work group? So, which one is that work group? Now, I would like some volunteers because we're going to give some.
No, I would
timelines.
like some volunteers because we're
On
going
all
to
of
give some
this.
timelines.
1 month, for example. On all
Would
of
one
this.
month be
1
enough
month, for example.
to come
Would
out to
1
review
month
the
be
documents?
enough to come out to review the documents? It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good.
If you create a group, if you create a group, you need a month. If you create a group, you need a month for a first draft of the policy, and then another month for discussing it in the broad community. But the drafting group should be representative. This means that you should have somebody from the technical point of view, like an RN, somebody who is an actual researcher producing and using data. You need a librarian, you need, as part of the group, you need a vice president or vice director for human resources in a research institution or university. You need somebody from government. And you need somebody from government. So you need 4 or 5 people, represent only one sector. If you represent only one sector, then the policy will not be balanced.
Yeah, of course, Senator, involved. And I mean, it's. Here is a fairly representative. Here is a fairly representative group for the open science policy. So we have someone that has volunteered. So we have someone that has volunteered to be in the open science group. Do we have any other volunteers? We have another volunteer. Sorry? Sorry? UNESCO, all right? UNESCO, all right? Okay. So we have. Okay. UNESCO. So we have. UNESCO. Geoscience, I'd like somebody also from civil society. Geoscience, I'd like somebody also from civil society on this. Okay. Okay. All right. So we have this. All right. So we have this group. Who is the one that is going to actually be leading this group? A very tricky statement. A very tricky statement. Okay, so we have this group. We have this group. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is part of the committee, right here. This is part of the committee, right here. Okay. So, who is the secretariat of this committee? You have already developed for the open science. You have already developed a number of things. I need somebody to volunteer. Because they're going to be talking with Lungo at Smartbots to be able to assist in building all of this. Who is going to make sure that everything is being done? Everybody wanted to jump in, but when I said secretariat that does the work, you ran out. So anyway, why don't you just make we work together that the work gets done and make sure that the work gets done. Can we agree on something? Can the group that just volunteered lift up their hands so I know who you are? You want an open science policy, right? Here's one. Here's two. So you are in this group. You are in this group or not? Let me see the hands that is on open science. Let me see the hands that is on open science group. Lungo, please record names, get emails. Lungo, please record names, get emails. Okay? And civil society, why are you running away? And civil society, why are you running away? And he's also in security, and we need that. And he's also in security, and we need that as well. We don't need security. No, we don't need security. No, it's Ministry of Education on this one. No, it's Ministry of Education on this one. It's education. So, group. I want to ask you now something. Group. And I want to ask you now something. And I want to hear. It would be interesting if I could hear the nodding of your heads. So, do we agree that after we have the policies that will be sent by UNESCO and LIBSENSE, we have 1 month review it to actually come up with our own policy and come up with our own policy. Is 1 month okay? Huh? Is 1 month okay? Huh? What is December is okay? What is December is okay? No, it's not dead. December is alive. No, it's not dead. December is alive and well. We might be dead, but December is fine. We might be dead, but December is fine. I'll go to my Carol post, but I can still do my work. From there.
Our dearest here will
So, do we have a volunteer also from... So, do we have a volunteer also from... Can you volunteer somebody? Thank you. Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, good. So we have somebody from from the ministry. So we have somebody from for the open science policy. So we have for the open science policy. So we have 1 month. This is December fast track. This is December fast track. Okay. So we have okay. So we have until mid-January. I'm also looking mid-January to develop this. I'm also looking at the legislative because we have until March this one. Because we have until March this one. If you want to push otherwise it goes to next year. Otherwise it goes to next year. Summertime. So we have until mid-January. So we have until mid-January. Are we on it? Are you with me? Give me the names of the committee. Give me the names of the committee. Okay. Okay. By the way, this is how I'm in the office. By the way, this is how I'm in the office. I'm not vicious. People think that I'm like this scary guy, but I'm not. I try to have a little fun here and there. I try to have a little fun here and there. And I see these eyes. So are we okay? So are we okay? Did he record you? Did he record you? So good. So we have now a working team. So we have now a working team for the open science. For the open science policy. For the open science policy. And here we're also going to look at data. And here we're also going to look at data. That needs to feed in to the open data group. Because we cannot be going to cabinet producing different types of policies on data. And what we also need to do, I have already talked to Attorney General to see if they can accommodate with actually putting this thing through and the review. And also from MCKT, we have MCKT, we have Joseco that has been looking at all the existing legislation that we have today that is relevant. Okay, so, you are on open data. You are on open data. We work together on open science. And we work together on open science. Let's have it reviewed. Mid-January. When can we have the documents? Let's have it reviewed. When can we have the documents to UNESCO? Let's create a work group. Let's create a work group. Lungo, can you create 2 work groups? Lungo, can you create 2 work groups? And maybe we can finally use this. Online platform. Put everything in there. Basecamp. To put everything in there. Is anyone familiar with Basecamp? Is anyone familiar with Basecamp? Shall we use Basecamp? So shall we use Basecamp? So do you have Basecamp? Okay. So I will create some accounts. Lungo will. Lungo will. Okay. We'll fix it up. Okay. Are we missing something? We have open science, we have open data. We need to open the skies and get some pula. We need to open the skies and get some pula. What else are we missing? What else are we missing? I see a big smile back there. You wanted to volunteer to do something. You wanted to volunteer to do something. But I don't know what. Okay. So, anything else? So, Omo. Anything else? Are we missing something? Omo. Are we missing something?
I think you know what's important. I think you know what's important is that you have the working group set up. We know the calendar because it's not, and then as much as we can, because it's not exhaustive. There's as much as we can. What I would like to exhaust the topic in that group. What I would like to also so in that group, right? We would also discuss the other elements, infrastructure and capacity building that's required. They will not be necessarily in the policy, but they will move on after so that you have the framework to move on after the policy. The great thing is that we have the infrastructure, NRENs, who can provide infrastructure to support of some sort, at least, you know, to support scientific Librarian research, and then we have the librarians, and then you start to, maybe what we will do in the group, we will also share with you some of the skills profiles that we developed for the library. So you can start to look at even within the community what capacity building needs to be. And all of this needs to be refined. And all of this needs to be resourced. So thankfully government is here. They already have ideas for resource. But then there's also the opportunity to engage with, because it's a global phenomenon, with the outside world. Other than that, I think, these outcomes excellent. The fact that we have all agreed to do it, and we have a timeline. We will provide as much support directly, and of course through our partners, and of course Dr. Plinos is also here to sort of chip in. I think because it's not new, all other policies, and there are all other policies that the main job of this working group will be to look at these templates, look at your own context, look at the issues in Botswana, look at the issues that smart bots and all mentioned about the smart bots and all the other things you want to do, and make sure it fits. It might be that what the initial policy produced will be an overarching policy that will need specific related on other issues, frameworks or policies on other issues. But I think that's straightforward enough. If you go to LIBSENSE or Rendered Africa, under resources, you'll see we have national templates for national policies, which again, they're not exhaustive, but they're there to start with. We also have for institutional policies. You need to be able to think along those lines, that the national policy will guide institutional policies. So we can look at all of them.
Okay, this concludes this session. Okay, this concludes this session. And let's just stay with one reflection. Let's hope that next year, meeting, at the next UbuntuNet meeting, at the next we can actually show what we have done. We can actually show what we have done here in Botswana. So we can all put all of our knowledge and efforts together. A lot of work has been done. A lot of passion, and a lot of passion has actually been put into this work. So let's see it come into fruition. Provide some next year at LIBSENSE, provide some recommendations of how to improve open science, because part of our work is not just to take, adopt, but is also to share. So thank you very much for your engagement. And next year, and I'm hoping that next year will come with some good news. Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch. I don't know if there is lunch. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So it's time for lunch. Thank you very much, sir. So it's time for lunch. The invited guests will follow Pascaline. Pascaline coming here. You had a breakfast. So this side where you had a breakfast. And the rest of us will go to where we had the breakfast at the other end. We can go now, then we'll be back for the final. We can go now, then we'll be back for the final session. Thank you. There has been an alteration in the program, so you have to confirm. Oh, okay. No, after lunch, come back. So lunch is ready now, please. We just want to have about 20 minutes of lunch. And then we can come back for the final session. All right, so please, lunch is ready. We want to. All right, so please, lunch is ready. We want to lock the room so we can. So please have lunch and come back quickly. So please, let's head towards the places that we had our breakfast. We can continue the quick lunch session. We can continue the networking session. Thank you. On lunch. Thank you.